Hello and welcome to live stream number 24. My name is Jeff Rolka. We have a very special celebration tonight. I know I've alluded to it in the chat, and I will give you the full reveal here momentarily. But before I do, I want to welcome you all to this week's live event. The chat is open, and we are here hanging out to have a little chit-chat around vocal things and all things singing or music related. So basically, this live event is whatever you want to make of it. Last week turned into Zona de Passaggio week. Was not in the plans or anything like that. It just kind of happened, and it was a really, really good time. So feel free to post whatever questions you wish, and I will look in the chat and answer them in the order that they appear. If I believe the chat will cut you off if you have like a really long question, so I'll skip down. And if you notice that I skip over you in reading a question, please know that I will circle back around and have a look at everything in between. I'm really, really quite good at that, if I do say so myself. And if you're new to this whole kit and caboodle, thank you for joining us this evening. Do please subscribe if you have not yet already. And if you are a subscriber, I thank you very, very much. Before we dive into all things vocal related, first of all, hello, Heidi. Hello, Aldo. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, evening. And JC's Radiant Ray, good afternoon to you as well. And Gerald Ryan, hello. I don't know how many of you keep track of these things, or actually, I'm not even sure how easy it is to find this out. But just yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think it was the day before yesterday, I broke my first 1 million views on YouTube. So, I broke 1 million, which had not happened for me. I don't think I've had 1 million of anything before. So, in celebration, as is our custom here in England, we celebrate with cake. And specifically for me, though, let me see if I gotta make sure I've got this. Yep, that's pretty well in the frame there. I think it's in the frame. Let's take a look there. Yeah, there we go. That's too low. 1 million views. There it is. This happens to be, I don't know if you can see the sprinkles. I'm a big fan of sprinkles. This is what is called a Victoria's sponge. So you have 3 layers. And there's whipped, it's not like whipping cream because it's not that sweet, but it's like cream that's been whipped, and so it's kind of fluffy, with jam in between the layers, and then a little bit of icing on the top with many, many sprinkles, which I'm a fan of, and of course the obligatory chocolate million there. So yeah, my first 1 million views. Oops, sorry about that. Which I am, needless to say, extremely excited about. And in no small part, of course, due to all of you watching the videos and sharing them around. I really, really do appreciate it. And it's just great. So thank you very much. It's really, your channel. It's what you guys are doing and watching and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for just watching and showing up and chatting and asking questions and sharing and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. So let's dive in. I don't know if I have any questions yet. I would, yeah. Let's see. I've got a couple hellos. Thank you, Zoroko. Yeah. It's easy to get busy with these things and miss them, but we're gonna be here. I would love to share the cake. I would love to share the cake out if I could. At some point, if you think, at some point, I wonder if 3D printing, like if like how cool would that be if you could like pipe the ingredients into your 3-dimensional printer and then it would spit out your Victoria sponge. Like that would be amazing. And yes, I would love to share that with you. That would be so good. Zoroko, that would be amazing. I would love to have 50,000 subscribers. we're just going to keep on going and keep on making videos and just having a good time and doing chats and all that kind of stuff. Sooner or later, I hope we get there. Thank you, Danielle. I really appreciate that. JC's Radiant Ray, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, that would be cool, Zoroku. So yeah, that's the surprise. That's the surprise. Now I am fully ready to start diving into vocal questions, or just chats in general, whatever's going on for everybody. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit because I feel like I'm craning my neck, which is actually really good microphone technique tip right there. Make sure that you set the mic to where you are rather than craning your neck or doing something like that. To artificially compromise your posture. You want to make sure that you have a nice upright posture, whether you're speaking, singing. If you're using a mic, bring the mic to you, not the other way around. I need to watch and take my own advice in that regard. I did have one sort of mini question-ish sort of a thing that came up regarding Apogeo breath management system and about maintaining the engagement and openness of suspension. Pardon me. And Aldo, that I saw that pop up right as I started to talk about it. Congrats, Maestro. Thank you very much. A little bit in depth about the art of Apogeo. When I do exercises and sing vowels, my suspension and breathing works well, but when I sing songs, my Apogeo is wrong. Hey, there's my mom. I wasn't going to say anything unless I saw her pop up on the chat. But yes, we have another special guest this evening. Joining us briefly here in our chat is my mom, Darlene Rolka. You can see that she's just joined the chat there. So if you're thanking me, you can thank her as well too, because of course I would not exist were it not for my mom. So thank you, Mom. I really appreciate that. But yeah, getting back to Apogeo, actually, Aldo, what? It sounds to me, based upon what you're singing here, did I say singing? I think I said what you're singing there. I meant saying, not singing, but saying. The thing with Apogeo, or our practice in general, is that there's going to be a bit of a lag between what you do in a vocalization and what you can implement in a song. So give that some consideration. This is in part why it's also really, really important to practice the yeah, that's nice. Zoroko saying hi to Mom. My mom is in Michigan. I'm here in England. My mom's in Michigan. There's always a lag between what gets implemented in our vocalizations versus what we can do in a song. But that's why it's so important to bring the technical exercises to the song work. There's a playlist on the channel that doesn't get a whole lot of love, and I think it's called like the Lyrical Phrases playlist. And in that, I go through like some technical exercises and vocalizations and how to work on a song by integrating those things into it. And what that can do is, actually, I'm talking about that right now, Kenmani Ellis. What you want to do is bring the vocalizations to the song. And that's what the lyrical playlist is about. The examples aren't specific for copyright reasons. I don't work on, like the songs that you hear on the radio or anything that isn't public domain on the channel. Because I don't want to deal with the copyright infringement issues and the rights organizations in terms of sync licensing and mechanical licensing and all that kind of stuff. So the thing about Apogeo, I'm sorry, I'm getting way off base. I'm a little excited. I'll admit it. I'm a little excited. It's kind of a special night, and it feels really special to share this with all of you because so many of you show up week after week, and I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, it just feels really special. So thank you. I really feel it's very, very kind of you all. So I'm a little bit frazzled. But here's the thing, Aldo, and I'm sorry I've gotten so off topic. We have to bring the practice of the vocalizations to the practice of your songs. So we have to deconstruct the song. Let's say, for example, let's say the melody was, if you let me take your heart. Let's just for the sake of argument, I know not the most awesome melody, lyrics are kind of contrite, but that's fine, okay? If you let me take your heart. There's a lot of different stuff that goes in there. One of the first things we can do with that, like let's say it's a totally new thing. And Ken Money, this is going out to you as well, because this is all about, it's a process, right? So let's say it's a brand new song. First things first, the easiest way to get started is with a lip trill. Treat it as one long phrase. We're looking to keep the air moving through the entire line. When that starts to get reasonably solid, and I mean it's a consistent, continuous line, and look out for things, right? Right? We don't want to do that, okay? We want to make it a nice continuous line. Then try a solid vowel. Again, looking for that nice, consistent timbre. If you hear things change, something's not right. You have to learn to balance that out. Check out your E vowel. Check out the vocalizations on ascending lines. They're all in the channel, right? So then you get that evened out. Now we're probably ready to start taking a look at the specific vowel sounds that we have in the phrase. If you let me take your heart. All the different vowels. If when we can make that a nice phrase, just like the solid vowel, now we can start adding the consonants back in. I'll play like a little game with my clients where I'll say, okay, give me 10% consonants. What would 10% consonants be? If you it's going to still be slurpy and sloppy and barely audible, right? And then we say 20%. What would 20% be like? If you let me take your heart. We're getting closer and closer and closer to what I would call a viable vocal delivery. That process is what I will go through with my clients to help them integrate their vocalizations into their songs, and that's what's going to make your song sound better. And Aldo, that's what's going to bring your Appoggio breath management practice into practice for the songs, because little by little, you're only taking on a small chunk at a time of what it is to sing a song. A song is complex. There's lots of moving parts, and there's all kinds of different things. There's vowels, there's consonants, there's rhythms. The rhythm of the thing that I just sang is really inconsequential. It's not complicated in any way. But we have to deal with rhythm and changing pitch, and much less the environment that we're singing in. I mean, it could be anything from a loud band to a noisy espresso machine. I mean, there's all these different things. So in our practice is where we figure these things out. And that's the process for bringing the quality of your vocalizations to your songs. Over time, that will get truncated. So you won't have to go through that whole practice for every song you ever do. what you'll do is you'll hit the troublesome spots and the little problem zones that you find in your tunes. Let me know, Aldo and Kenmani, if those are good explanations for what you're doing. Yeah, let me know. Any tips on learning to sing songs by ear when the sheet music is unavailable? And Heidi is joining in with that. Got the same challenge with a lot of new church music, no notes. Yeah, that is quite challenging. And I suppose ultimately you're going to have to listen to it. If it's impossible to listen to it or the recordings are rare, then that's really it. If you don't have any notes, either you're going to listen to it and learn it by ear, and that can be a laborious process that can take time, or you will have to get a friend, or perhaps if you're on a worship team or something like that, someone there to pick out the melody or play it on a piano for you so that you can get it note by note. But if you're learning by ear, it's going to be a process of listening, and solfege will help with that. Pardon me. And in that it gives you a framework to understand what it is you're hearing. So after a time, if you're listening to a song and the melody's like, that ceases to be, and it becomes do, mi, so, fa, mi. And that gives you a framework to work around, right? And it's about memorizing it as well. The solfege can help you anchor into it and have a framework with which to remember it. It stops being something that you heard, and it starts to be, the tonic, the third, the fifth, the fourth, the second, and the successions and the patterns. And plus, ultimately, in any diatonic song, so any song that adheres to a specific key. Now, in Western tonal music, that's like an exorbitantly large percentage of the music. I mean, unless you're talking about contemporary avant-garde music that's being played at universities or in art houses, where it's literally that kind of stuff, it's almost always diatonic. And because of that, we're almost always repeating the same patterns over and over and over again. It's like that. If you do a quick YouTube search for the Axis of Awesome, they're this kind of like satirical band, and they have this video, and they play this chord progression. And they go through these dozens and dozens of songs that all use that chord progression as their basis for the music. And the melodies themselves, while different, have similar elements. And the more that you dive into solfege, the more you'll be aware of those elements and also begin to understand them in a very intimate way. If it seems like I talk about solfege, I know I talk about solfege a lot. It's really important, and it had a very, very profound impact on my musicianship, which is why I'm such an advocate of it. Zoroko, I have trouble on understanding if my voice is improving or not. I'm using the recorder, but a little unsure what I'm looking for. It would be good to know how you're using the recorder. If you're recording yourself every single day, you are most likely not going to hear a great deal of difference from day to day to day. Every once in a while, you'll get like a quantum leap forward. The idea behind the recorder is to use it every 2 weeks, something like that. Every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Record yourself in those increments after you've been practicing a specific skill set for that time frame. So, for example, it's October 1st, I think, today. So record yourself going, right? And then work on balancing the resonances between your vowels, doing and then 3 weeks down the road, assuming all things are equal. Like if you had a cold or something, then maybe that's not, that's not the 3 week marker. Maybe if you had a week off because you had a cold, then give yourself 3 to 4 days to recover after the cold is completely gone of vocalizing, and then another week tacked on the end, and then record yourself and compare and contrast the two. It depends a lot on how diligent you are in your practice. It depends on if you're like a gigging musician and you're vocalizing for 5 or 10 minutes a day, but you're singing a 2-hour gig at night using your old habits. It's gonna take a little longer to show like really, really small incremental kind of improvements. Now, if you change your breathing, then I would expect it to take place very rapidly. That can have dramatic impacts immediately on one's voice. But yeah, in what you're listening for, it depends on what you're working on. If it's vowel formation, then you're listening for similarities in resonance. If it sounds like this when you start, obviously those vowels do not align, and that's a gross exaggeration. Okay, so that's what that is. But then work towards improving that, and then record yourself again and see how you do. It is about breaking it down. So the smaller you can narrow your focus, which is why often the videos are 1 or 2 vowels or 3 vowels. The warm-ups, which are still technical exercises, have a lot more vowels than that typically, but the individual exercises will have much smaller numbers of vowels, and those are the ones to cue in on if you're really having trouble with one vowel or another. But again, Zoroko, if it's range, evaluate the range. It's about what you're working on. That's what you want to evaluate with the use of the recorder. Aldo, excellent. I am glad that I got that right. I'll start working that with my songs. I spend a lot of time singing songs by other artists who have different styles. I think it would be better to practice my own songs. No, I love singing cover songs. I love writing my own material as well. I think the most important thing to sing is what is inspiring to you. Whatever is making you want to start singing today, right now. Obviously, if you're a wedding singer, then hopefully you're being inspired by what you have to sing at the next wedding that you're booked to do. That's a little bit different. That's a different thing altogether. But if you're singing purely for the joy of it and to learn about your voice and to, become a great vocalist, and sing what inspires you, whether it's your stuff or cover band stuff. There is an additional difficulty with cover artists, and that is that even it is so very difficult to shrug off the influence of the original artist. And the more characteristic the artist is, the more of a character and a unique individual they happen to be, the more difficult I find it. If you work on anything by Queen with Freddie Mercury, his voice is so characteristic of him, and he has such a style all his own. It's incredibly difficult to not want to adopt his affectations. And that in and of itself becomes a practice in making the song your own. This is why with cover songs, I'm a big advocate of changing keys, changing tempi, change it around, move it around, play it on a different instrument. If it's normally a guitar song, play it on piano. If it's normally a piano song, play it on guitar. Break free of whatever the original format was in order to give yourself a chance to be yourself in the song. And then as your technique gets ingrained in it, then start to bring it back towards the original and see then how you feel about it. But the rules on cover songs, if you want to get really, really specific about it, if you wanted to record a cover song, you can purchase a mechanical license. They're not expensive. It's usually just you're paying the royalties in advance and a small like $8 or $10 fee for processing. So you can license a song to do a recording of your own for about $25 US. And the only stipulations are that the main melody, the chords, and the lyrics must be predominantly the same. They don't even have to be exactly the same, and you're still going to be just fine. But tempos and keys and all of that stuff, and when they talk about chords, they're talking about the relationship of the chords, not specifically it's an A, it must be an A. It's the relationship of the chords in the song. Make it your own. That's what's exciting. And I talk about this a lot, but I think it bears repeating that, there's only ever going to be one Aldo. So show us you. Like, do you as well as you can do. Because this is it. And I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear you. I'd like to hear you and how you sound. It's like there's a song on my album Somewhere in the Fade called Every Little Thing. And FYI, it has a really bad word in it, and it was not my idea, but I didn't have the strength to deal with it at the time. So there you go. My apologies. But when we were doing it in rehearsals, it was sounding like this Rolling Stones tune, and the guitar player on the session was like, "We're never going to sound as good as the Stones. Why would we even try? Why would we even approach it this way?" And it sounded really cool, and I loved it. But yeah. Anyway, it ended up being this sort of indie rock thing at the end, and but that comment, the song, whatever about the song, but the comment is what I think is apropos to this conversation. The Stones are the Stones. You're never going to be the Stones. So be your version of that thing. That's what's important. Maz, hello, and thank you for your comments today. I really, really appreciate that. And yes, stress is a killer, man. Like, stress is an absolute, you do not want to be stressed out. I want to throw this out there, by the way. It's almost 1:30. I usually do my station ID about this time. And so thank you. Those of you who are new to the chat, I see the comments coming in. I will get to you. I take them all in turn, and I really do my best to get through to everybody. So thank you for showing up. If you're not yet a subscriber, I hope you'll consider doing so now. And yeah, thank you. So yeah, stress, lack of sleep, things like that will have a really, really terrible effect on one's voice. That is in part, like, I know I owe the channel a high range, like a really, really high range third passaggio video, and I'm gonna do it, if not this coming week, then the following week. But I haven't really been able to, because I've been traveling and doing all sorts of weird things and working on the guidebook for the channel, which is nearly ready, and that will be coming out in the next 2 months probably. And so it's just been very stressful. And so my voice hasn't really been where I'd like it to be. And so I've put off doing that video so that I can bring my A game when I finally do it. But I'm going to do it, and I have not forgotten. And usually Michael, I haven't seen Michael in the chat in a while, but I'm still considering the distortion video as well. I haven't forgotten that. I don't forget these things. I write them down so I don't have to remember. Justin Caldwell, I remember your name. Having such a hard time with the break from head to chest voice. But what's strange there are sometimes when the transition is good, then others when it's not. it is going to kind of be that way for a little while. One of my colleagues back in the Bay Area, Megan Dibble, um, with whom I took lessons for a number of years, and enjoyed so much, and would continue doing so now if I were in the Bay Area, once told me that about 6 months to integrate new skills into one's singing. So think about that for a moment and think about, like, so first of all, the fact that you're making a smooth transition through the secondo passaggio, which is what we call the break. That's the transition from thyroarytenoid, head voice, to cricothyroid. I'm sorry, thyroarytenoid's chest voice, cricothyroid's head voice. It's that transition is commonly referred to as the break. I call it the secondo passaggio. That's what we call it in all the the study books and all that kind of stuff. The fact that you can do that at all is not to be taken for granted. That's a huge achievement, first and foremost. Okay? If you are new to that transition point, be patient. Keep up your descending scale and descending intervallic practices for a while. Think in what I mean by a while is think 6 months, easy. Even after the point that you're consistently integrated, consistently making ascending scale passages through the secondo passaggio, keep checking in with the descending patterns so that you reinforce the good habits and you set yourself up for it. And probably within 2 to 3 months, you won't really feel like you have to do that anymore. But we really want this habit to get deeply ingrained. So just keep on reminding yourself of the physicality and what it feels like to go from that. What you're learning to do in that is starting in the cricothyroid dominant voice, the feel of it without the weight of the thyroarytenoid voice having ascended to it. So you want to remember that lightness of it that is still well adducted, where the vocal fold is meeting. And then do your ascending passages and everything else like that. And I think that you'll see that your consistency will get better and better. If that isn't what's happening, if that isn't really what's going on, it pays to check in with your engagement, your airflow. If I get into break problems or heaviness above the transition point, it's usually airflow related. So check in with how you're using your engagement, how you're staying expanded. That will be a major part of good technique above the break. Heidi, my problem is mostly with the riffs common in Turkish songs. Yeah, I bet. Especially if they're slipping in the cracks as well, which I suspect they do. Do not underestimate the power of repetition. Unfortunately, if it's not notated and it is something, and I can I can imagine some of those things in my mind. Complicated, fast, microtonal in some cases, if I remember correctly. It's going to be you're gonna repeat those a lot. You're gonna have to listen to them quite a lot. Retracted reverie. Do you agree with the notion that there's a ceiling for some people in terms of vocal range? I, for one, think that every singer, no matter the vocal type, can acquire an extended vocal range. I agree with that. There is, when I talk about range, I think about it in terms of usable range and ultimate range. So my usable range that I like is probably smaller than what I could allow myself, but there's certain things in my vocal delivery that I really insist upon in the practice of the songs that I sing. I really want it to be extremely seamless through the secondo passaggio. I really want the vocal quality to be the same above and below that part of my voice. And so I typically don't venture too much higher than an A natural or a B flat in the songs that I write and what I choose to sing. However, I'll regularly practice up to D's and E flats above high C. Because the wider that we practice our ultimate range, the more the usable range will expand outwards to get incorporated into it. The bottom of the range is a much more hard stop that I find in my own singing and in the practice of my clients. So and again too, this is keeping in mind that I want the tone quality, the sound of my voice to be consistent throughout. And if the client I'm working with maintains that priority as well, then I'm usually very conservative with the low end as well. Certainly, I can come down into this area, but to start getting down there, I need to lessen up the adduction of my voice, and it gets a little airy. Otherwise, I start to get problems. And I don't want to have that kind of difference in my songs. I want the tone quality to be the same. So speaking for myself, I usually limit myself to a low C as the lower boundary of what I'll perform, even though I know I have a major second, a minor third more, that if I really, really had to have that note, I could do it. But yeah, I agree with you. I believe that with practice and understanding the voice, we can keep on going higher and higher and higher. So Rolka says, oh, okay. JC's Radiant Ray says, thank you, Jeff. I will work more on solfege. Songs I know are fine, but songs I am hearing for the first time and maybe not so fond of are easier when I can see the notes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's difficult too if you're not fond of the music that you're going to be singing. That can be really challenging. Yeah, I don't have a good one for that. From speaking for myself, I try to find something. Maybe it's a novel chord progression or an interesting lyric or a neat little turn of phrase in the melody or something like that. Something that I can hold on to. Of course, if I'm singing the music for a function, then my own personal feelings about it have absolutely no bearing on it, and I can easily dismiss that. But that's not, that's not something that everyone can do, and that is something that I certainly have learned over the years. Greg, hey, do you have any tips for imitating the timbre of a tenor as a mid-high baritone? Obviously, for classical stuff, I should stay in my tessitura, but for pop, I feel like a lighter sound is better. Absolutely. Yeah, you got it. In particular, you are going to feel... in particular, you will feel really, really light in your lower register, and particularly what would probably be your power zone in that lower baritone-rich, luscious area that baritones have. You're going to feel very, very self-limited. But that will imitate the sort of tonal characteristics of the tenor vocal production quite adequately, quite effectively as well. In quite frankly, this works in the classical realm as well. I studied with a really famous tenor vocalist in the Bay Area. Excuse me. I studied with a really famous baritone vocalist in the Bay Area who is constantly singing tenor stuff. I mean, he's probably as well known for his tenor work as a baritone, even though he is definitively a baritone in voice. But you match the volume, and when we talk about tone, we're talking about volume as well. So when you get down into that low C area, while you could be really rich and voluminous and lush, if you're going to be the tenor, narrow it down and get small. Yeah. In many respects, as a baritone, you have a lot more versatility than I do in how and what you can sing. There will be songs that have presence in the low register that I will not be able to touch, that you will be able to do, and yet if you match your vowel sounds adequately and really really practice the transitions through the secondo passaggio, it's entirely conceivable that you could have nearly as much range as any tenor. Uh, I'm really sorry. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce your name or the username there. TPONAP backwards N. Hi, Jeff. Hello. I have almost 15 years and I'm in a mutating phase. So should I just let the time pass because I can barely sing E4? I want to be a tenor like my dad. Can you help me sing any higher? Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for coming out tonight. I know your comment popped up a while ago, so I hope you're still there, and thank you for hanging on if so. I hope that you end up like your dad. Seeing as how he's your dad, I'm not entirely sure what genetics play in this sort of thing. If there's a geneticist amongst you out there, please feel free to chime in. But I suppose it's likely that if your dad was a tenor, you'll be a tenor too. I suspect what you're talking about is your voice change, and just hold on. Just stay in the game, and let it pass. It's going to be a little while before everything settles down again, especially if it's just beginning for you. So just hang in there. Focus on your breath work. Focus on your engagement. Stick to your comfortable thyroarytenoid dominant range and practice it so it's nice and light. So, come back down here. Don't worry about the high range just yet. Come back into your comfortable middle zone and match up your vowel resonances so that you can do e, u, e, ah, e, oh. And I like to play a little bit of round robin as well, so mix and match. E, oh, I, ooh, oh, ooh, eh. Play around with all those different combinations of vowels. Make sure that the timbres match, the resonances match. That way, when your voice change is over and things start to settle down again, you'll be really, really well placed to start working into the zona di passaggio and practicing the transition through the secondo passaggio and getting everything all sorted out again. Tradition, which is a cool name. Hey, Jeff, do you have any tips on how to belt at higher pitches? Well, okay, so it depends on your definition of belting, first and foremost. There are different definitions of belting. There are some that say that you can make the transition through the zona di passaggio. So, for example, that's C4 to G4, right? This is probably a better range. Some would say that that's belting. It's not my definition of belting. Belting is when you take the thyroarytenoid dominant voice, which is anything below the secondo passaggio, where the main vocal fold, the main musculature under the vocal fold, which is what you typically use when you're talking, when you, rather than allow that to change into the cricothyroid muscle group, you force it higher and higher. If that is your definition of belting, then make sure that you've got really, really good airflow. I would avoid what's it called? Anchoring. If you watch people that belt a lot, there's this thing that they'll do with their necks where, I'll turn a little sideways here, and they call it anchoring. And what you'll see is the head will go forward and then it'll snap back and anchor back, and all those neck muscles will engage. I would highly recommend you avoid that. There's so much musculature and nerves that go through the neck that impact the rest of the body. I would highly advise you not get into the habit of anchoring. And finally, I would not belt more than a major second above your secondo passaggio. So if you know where your secondo passaggio is, now for me, that's F sharp right above high C. Kind of F sharp and F. It's really sandwiched between the two. So I'm not going to belt higher than a G sharp if I belt at all. I typically don't belt. My vocal practice and my teaching is all about sustainability. I want people to be able to sing, and sing just forever and stay healthy. And if they don't want to, I don't want you to ever have to take a day off. I don't really take days off. I don't have to. I do get tired from time to time, and then I might be a bit more conscientious about my singing, but I don't have to. People who are belting higher and higher and higher will frequently need some time off at regular intervals. And I'm talking about intervals within the week. So limit yourself to a major second above the secondo passaggio. Make sure your breathing is very, very well established so that you're giving your voice as much love and care as you possibly can. And avoid the anchoring. Let me make sure. I'm going to scroll back here just to make sure I didn't hear anything. Yeah, okay, good. So, Rocco, what defines a rocker confidence? As a shy beginner or a person learning to sing, I want to be able to feel and express myself the way I want it. Well, there are two sides to this. One is the vocal pedagogical side, and one is I call it the internal journey. I don't want to sound too Californian and like kind of oovy groovy. But there are things about myself that I know that are not my fault. They just exist. It is part of what it is to be me. And I don't get to leave those off stage when I step on stage. I bring them with me, and I have to deal with them, and I have to know how to deal with them. And I've certainly learned to deal with them over the years. Honestly, through a lot of self-evaluation, self-awareness, mindfulness, psychotherapy. I am a big believer in basically ongoing help. It's lovely. If you've never been and talked to a professional in that regard, it's a very liberating experience to be able to talk about things and come to an understanding. So, I don't think that psychology, is reserved strictly for people who have a debilitating problem. It's something that we can all benefit from. And then for a number of years, I had a coach, a life coach, which was awesome too. So that helps me understand how my internal journey is going to impact what I step on stage, what it feels like. And part of it is to learn to put those feelings aside. Now, there's also a very practical side to this too, and that is that if you want to step on stage and feel confident, I believe that a large degree of that confidence comes from knowing that when you open your mouth, what you expect and want to come out is what is going to come out. So regular vocal practice, regular evaluation, training, practicing with things like the YouTube and self-evaluation, getting a lesson every once in a while with a local professional or whatever. All of those things go into helping us to bring our A game to the stage. It is a process. So when I go to perform now, it's not that I don't get nervous any longer. It manifests in a different way. Usually in a sense of feeling like I don't belong there or I'm not wanted. It used to be very, very different. I had different feelings and different things would occur. But that's what it is these days. So, and you just learn to put that aside. What age female voice ghost down 40 or 50 years old? Gerald Ryan, I'm not exactly sure what that is. What age female voice? I think maybe what you're asking is when can you expect the voice to start changing as you age? And if that's the case, yeah, as we get older, I would expect it maybe a little bit older. Maybe for female voices, certainly menopause. Whenever menopause happens, that's probably going to have an impact. We have to really look at muscle elasticity in all our voices as we age. That will have certainly an impact, which is a big reason why it's good to build the exercises into our daily practice now, so that we've got all those muscles nicely well established as we get older. Aldo, plus 100 positive energy and inspirational. In my opinion, that's what makes. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I look forward to it. I will look forward to it. Fantastic. I will look forward to all of this. This sounds really, really wonderful, Aldo. Excellent. Maz, I'm really starting to enjoy singing. I'm finding passaggio easy, and I'm generating a lot of power and projection. Fantastic. Excellent. With that in mind, I'd really love to delve into classical repertoire. My passaggio is at F sharp. Are there any beginner pieces you can recommend? I think I have you confused with someone else. I thought... matters not. Maz, are you... Okay. If you want to... Okay. So, first and foremost, everyone sings the Vakai. They're lovely. They're lovely, lovely, beautiful songs. It's a great way to dive into the classical repertoire. So that's where I would begin. They're available. You can get them like with CDs, so you can play the accompaniment, and they have the music, and it's all really, really nice. With a passaggio at F sharp 4, which puts you firmly in the tenor camp, unless you're talking about F sharp 5, in which case then you're a soprano. In either case, get it for the high voices, and you should be good to go. Tradition. Hey Jeff, I usually sing in head voice. I always sang as a soprano in choir, but recently I've been wanting to use more chest voice. How do I do that? I've been singing head voice all my life. Well, first of all, start short. We. I know you've been singing for a long time, so please take it with a grain of salt, but check into the beginner stuff. If you're going to be using your thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice and you haven't been using it much at all, it will go really fast. It'll go really, really fast. But those exercises will be predominantly dynamic air pressure exercises, which means it's a short vowel sound and a pause that allows the vocal fold to change shape more easily. And that's what you want in order to get used to using the thyroarytenoid dominant voice. So check into those. There's like the early warm up from November 2013 starts with that. You could do that too. That's a good one for that, and that would also progresses through the various stages of vocal development. It's no surprise to me why that video still does so well. It's really, really very, very comprehensive, which was what I wanted to do. So that shouldn't be a surprise. So yeah, short vowel syllables. Check into that one. That's a good video to check out. And then, and just pick one that's going to be firmly in your chest voice. Those videos do not go over the secondo passaggio, that series. So if you're a tenor, which I believe is what you said earlier on in our session tonight, just stick to the tenor. It won't go, I don't think it goes any higher than F sharp 4. Gerald Ryan. Oh, the new warm-up video has a little messo di voce thing at the end. I just did that. It just got released at today. And I put a messo di voce exercise at the end of that. It's kind of, I even say in the video, it's kind of a hybrid exercise. But yeah, it's on there. But you wanted ascending too, didn't you? Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to get on that. I must admit, I've got quite a few requests to do, but I will do that. The thing of it is I don't think about volume quite in that way, and that's part of my hesitation, but I'll do that. I will get on to that. Jay, talk about breath compression for baritones after the passaggio. Is there something specific? The main thing that occurs to me, the main thing with breath compression, and that phrase I know gets used. Make sure you guys can still see me. It's getting dark over here, isn't it? Yeah, it's we're still experimenting with no. I know I got some lights on in the room, but it's all right. The breath above the secondo passaggio, more than anywhere else in the range, feels like it's hovering in space. I know that's not a technical description in any way, but when you have adequate expansion and the rectus abdominis muscles are really lifting towards the sternum, the obliques are holding the core stable and helping to keep the rib cage expanded, it doesn't, the sensation is not one of expelling air at a great rate, even though the velocity is there. It's one of kind of hovering and ringing. So in terms of compression, there's a connection there. There's a parity, a way that the vocal fold and the diaphragmatic muscles have this interplay. I feel it most in the vibrato. If you're loose enough, if you have enough vocal fold release, that things are allowed to wiggle a little bit, that's when you'll really start to feel that interplay between the two, because they kind of, it's, again, this is only my sort of way of interpreting the physical sensations. It's like they kind of massage one another into greater permutations for the vibrato and the suspension of the airflow. It is difficult to really describe that sensation over the secondo passaggio. Justin Caldwell, you're doing my warm-ups in the car. Fantastic. Be safe. 2 hands on the wheel. No lip trills with your hands anyway in the car. And you live in California? It's like 100 degrees daily. Are you in the south? I guess it's been 100 degrees in the north as well. I heard it was 100 degrees or 108 in like San Luis Obispo or something like that. Is the AC in my car affecting my voice? Probably. Also, I find myself belting the lessons to compensate hearing over an open window. Yeah. The AC can certainly be drying you out. So make sure you stay hydrated. Certainly if it's really ridiculously cold and it's blasting right in your face, the temperature differential could be having an impact on you as well. But I'd be more concerned about it dehydrating you. And yeah, if you're belting over the open window, and also too just road noise and the volume that you're creating in the car, which is actually I love the thought of you singing along to the vocalizations. My favorite story, I used to vocalize in the car all the time, and I lived in Alameda, California for a long time. And I rocked up, to like the red light, and I have my window down and I'm vocalizing along, and I just catch this like sight, like something moved out of the corner of my eye, and I look, and next to me the passenger side window is rolling up on the car, so they like heard me vocalizing and like, ugh, had enough of that. Yeah, try to get your volume down as much as possible, and obviously try to monitor your posture as much as you possibly can in the car. I would be interested to observe you in that position. I would suspect that the belting is more a result of the posture, because after a while, I just found that I couldn't. I was too uncomfortable in the seated position in the car to really vocalize effectively because of the way it was. It's not the best thing for our posture, really, right? Veronica, thank you. I'm really, really glad that you enjoy them, and I'm going to keep on doing them, so there's going to be more and more to enjoy. And Heidi agrees with you. Excellent. Thank you, Gerald Ryan. Thank you for watching. Thank you. I'm really glad that you're enjoying them. I do try to make them fun. I want them to be fun. It should be fun. We should be having fun doing this. Excellent. I'm glad that you're feeling settled down a little bit. Saruku, California's lovely. Enjoy while you are there. I watched an interview earlier where Pavarotti said he was terrified every time he went on stage. You guys are talking. You're welcome. Yeah, I'm about to wrap this up because I'm going to dig into that cake, and I wish I could send you all a slice of cake. I wish I could send you some cake. But until we get that 3D printing thing working, I'm going to enjoy it for all of us. I love Victoria Sponge. If you've never had it, it is the way to go. Simple, beautiful, lovely. Zaruku, I will look for that. Thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. JC's Radiant Ray. Steve Areno, hello. Howdy out there. If you're just joining us, I am sorry we're about to wrap it up here, but come on back next week. We'll be back next week. JC's Radiant Ray, great session. Thank you. I think it was great. And again, thank you all for participating. And by the way, on the whole Pavarotti thing, as I'm fond of saying, fear is the energy to do well in a foreign situation. And as that relates to us singing, it's that energy to do well. We want so badly to do well. And we got to turn that anxiety, turn that nervousness into energy to focus and do well on stage. And yeah, I know, I do the lip trills in the car too, but I can't advocate it officially. So don't do it. But yeah, I'm with you. And I owe you an email, which I will do that as well too. But thank you all so very, very much. Take really good care of your voices. Justin is a factor, and I too have had windows go up in the other lanes. Nice! Welcome to the club. See you all next week. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. And I'll see you next week, or I'll see you in the comments, or I'll see you around, okay? Thanks. Bye.